it our turn?
Your turn?
It's your turn. I see that you got back and forth between me and Amir, and we'll have to talk about that offline. So Amir, we're gonna have a discussion some other time, but right now, the commander's gonna go ahead with his presentation as he usually does.
Right, mine will be quick. I'm just gonna talk about two things. The first thing, if Amir's still on the line, Mike and I had a conversation yesterday, and the way it's happening now, and Jose and I are gonna go back to the drawing board and we'll brainstorm this. But even with the numbers, and I know I said earlier how I don't just wanna give you guys numbers and not give you the story. So two things I'd like to try out. I'd like to pilot, or whatever the word is, for next month. One will be getting you the numbers probably 2 weeks in advance as well. Amir does amazing work with showing the comparisons with previous months, and he can even do an analysis with it to see where we're trending, if we're trending in the right direction with different crimes. So you don't just have the numbers, but you have like an analysis. So we're gonna get you the numbers with more time too. We've been getting it to him the day before because Jose wants to get it the last like 30 days just to have that. But I think even if we have like a week or 2 week delay, as long as we can explain what variables was happening during that month, it's going to make sense. The story will make sense. So we're going to get you numbers sooner, so there's more time to make that analysis.
And we're gonna have the discussion about what you heard today from.
Right.
Yeah, there's another perturbation in this
Okay.
going on, so.
We'll talk.
but,
Come by the office. We'll chop it up. We'll figure it out.
Sure, I can do that.
The
Yeah.
second thing, and I just mentioned it before, giving you the more qualitative, the story piece of it. I want to say there's about 3 or 4, and I'll just a debrief of the Muslim homicides. So I'm going to write this all up, and you guys will have it next week. I didn't know that there's an email blast, not just for the board members, but the attendees, the community, to get, and especially if we're working in an environment where the community members have a voice. That's great, right? So the Muslim homicides, Phil Chacon and Wilson Park are parks next to schools, so they're being prioritized as far as the encampments and the unhoused population. We are doing enforcement. I'm going to break that down and what that looks like, because I'd like, again, your guys' feedback. Like, yes, this is good, this is bad, consider that. So it's going to be the Muslim homicides, what we're doing with the parks, especially with Coronado Park being shut down. How much of an increase are we seeing in the Southeast? Are we seeing an increase? Are we not? Is crime coming out of that, and what are responses to that? So those are the 2 biggest things. And then we have a rise in robberies and shoplifting. Shoplifting is not bad. It's a small rise. But what are initiatives and our plans to reduce those? So I'm going to write this up, what we're doing to address it, what your officers are doing. I will get that to you next week, and I'm hoping next month's meeting we can talk about it and see if it leads to any recommendations or anything like that. I have an incident going on, so I'm going to step down, go to the scene. But Jose is going to give you the numbers, and I'm hoping in the future we'll have an analysis to follow with it. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, I put my glasses on here. Hello, everyone. I'm the Southeast Area Command Crime Prevention Specialist, and I am going to give. I am going to give the July 2022 CPC, the stats for the CPC. The first category is crimes against persons. Crimes against persons, and it's aggravated assault and battery. There's 147 for the month of July. Criminal sexual penetration, there's 7. Domestic violence is categorized as family offenses, 294 in a month. On homicide, it says 0, but these stats are not totally accurate. There's 4 kidnappings, 31 robberies, all types. Simple assaults, there's 17. And then for property crimes, there's 51 auto burglaries, 113 auto thefts, 40 commercial burglaries, 5 forgeries, 0 frauds, 104 larcenies, all types. Recovered vehicles, 20, residential burglaries, 35, vandalism, 65. And then disorderly conduct, 109, drug violations, 35. DWIs are 18. And calls for service for July for the Southeast Area Command is 8,918. And the use of force statistics for July is a total of 16. And the level 1 is a 5, level 2 is 10, and level 3 is 1. And that is it. And like we had discussed, Mike, I'm gonna find out about whether what we can do to get this better. Like I'll talk to Commander Languit, I'll discuss it and see what we can come up with to better, because I know I've been told in the past that I can't do comparisons, but crime analysis probably can, so we'll figure that out.
So Kelly, can you very quickly let me share my screen? And I have to figure out how do I do this? Where is it? Oh, I need to go up here. I can't figure out where the share screen. Okay. Yeah, this one. There was a back and forth discussion today, and I had a pretty long discussion. Can you see it there? There we go. With Amir earlier, and I said that this was sort of a starting point for discussions about what we might want. When I used to teach data analysis for the Air Force, and I used to brief the generals in Washington, D.C. So the generals know how to read, and so I would never read statistics. Okay, come on. There we go. So this is one of the graphics that Amir provided, comparison of, and what's not shown here is you've got the calls for service and the number of incidents, 1/10 or 1/9 of those. I did a quick mental calculation, and so what I do is show the number of incidents is way down here at the bottom, as opposed to, that's an incredible number of calls for service. And the one complaint that I hear so often is, I called 911, I called 232 cops.
242 cops.
Yeah, 242 cops. That's why I didn't get an answer. And I was on hold for so long, and then nobody showed up. Well, of course they didn't show up. You've got dead bodies in the streets. You've got 9,000 calls for service, and you're only able to do 1,000.
And actually, that's low. That's low from what it usually is. It's
I know.
usually over 10,000
Now,
on average.
do you think that dip in those is because of the calls ACS is taking instead of?
I guarantee you it is,
Yeah.
because they've taken like 1,000 calls off
Yeah,
of
that looks
APD.
about,
Yeah,
that looks
yeah.
about right for yours.
So what?
And I pull the calls for service and I see where ACS has taken a lot of calls, quite a bit,
Yeah.
which APD should not have taken anyway.
Right.
Because
Right.
it's
Yeah.
more
They're
geared,
appropriate.
right, yeah.
Mhm.
So what I was
That's
talking to Commander
Mhm.
Languit about
Right.
on Tuesday at
Mhm.
the open house there is, rather than reading this information, you can say, look at this, family offenses.
So I was
I've
just-
commented on that
Mhm.
previously, that family offenses can be among the most deadly for law enforcement, because you're going into a volatile situation. There might be drugs, guns, who knows what's happening, and you frequently don't have the advance notice. So what I would suggest is, here are the statistics, and what you might notice is 300 family offenses.
That's a
You
lot.
don't need to read 294, 300 offenses compared to half as many aggravated assaults. So there's a lesson to be learned here. So, and then this is what Amir provides to show trends. And so I tried to meld what Amir had sent earlier today with what I created just from reading your
Yeah. Can
report.
you go back up to that last one?
Which one? This one?
One more.
This one?
Yeah, look at that. Family offenses went way up.
To Jose,
Yes, sir.
I made a little note, I showed it to Commander Languit,
Mhm.
but maybe, the start is with you, like just preliminary talks of these crimes against persons,
Mhm.
like everything, all the categories on here would be, these are all perfect candidates for the Trauma Recovery Center,
Mhm.
once we get it in
Yep.
full swing.
Mhm.
We probably won't get it into full swing, maybe early next year, maybe mid-year, but still, I think we should start talking about a process of referrals
Referrals, yep.
and
Mhm.
training
Mhm.
PRT and the officers of the Southeast. Because I know Commander Rank, we'll pilot it here
Yeah.
to get those 294.
Yeah,
We could
That's-
really, we
that's
could do
really, really bad.
interventions there.
And we
It's
just-
really bad.
Yeah,
And he's making referrals, restorative justice referrals to us too.
yeah, but addressing the trauma, there's a lot of trauma here.
Oh,
Lot of
So sending them to the Trauma Recovery Center, where we'll have clinicians,
mhm.
different healing practices,
Mhm.
culturally
cultural
competent and
Mhm.
trauma informed, sending them there, and then we'll put a little room closet to the side for Susie and them to do, no, I'm just kidding.
Restorative justice.
So they can do restorative justice.
Sort of like this.
Well, that has to be a part of the conversation because that's how you
Yeah,
heal
no,
those.
mediation,
Yeah, you heal those
restorative
issues.
justice.
You know that when I pull calls, for example, a couple of apartment complexes that are really, really, really bad, I see over and over and over the same families.
Absolutely.
There's one in particular where it's a young child. The mother is very mentally ill and the dad is just going crazy with it. And they're to the point to where they don't even let her in the house anymore. So she's homeless now, but she's very, very mentally ill and she's on a lot of drugs. And I thought to myself, how can we help her? You know, because I feel bad for that little kid every time I read those calls.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, what we can, now that I know, I could identify something like that, which I do all the time anyway when I'm doing the calls, because even, because every time I pull calls at a similar apartment complex, I would say at least 10% are from one, one apartment from that whole complex.
Yeah.
Like the majority of them are from there. And then it's that bad.
Question.
Mhm.
So you're talking about this one specific person. I know
Mhm.
that CIU is taking
Yes.
on cases, so do
Mhm.
you make referrals to them on that?
No, I
Because
have,
They are
no,
taking on a caseload now.
yeah.
What's CIU?
The crisis. I had mentioned it to one of my buddies that is in CIU, Abu Romero.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Marissa and I are gonna start working with.
Are you? Oh, okay. Yeah, because I could, this one person in particular, she's been in and out of, unit mental health and everything and, but
That sounds like a perfect case.
yeah, and and I don't know. I wish I knew what they look like because I could identify with them now because, every time I pull calls and I said, there she is again. Or there's another one where she's very mentally ill and she's always calling the police, but now it's going to ACS.
Mhm.
And they're dealing with them, pretty much she calls every day, multiple times a day. And they're dealing with her now. They don't even send APD anymore.
Is that the woman that was the subject of the article about 6 months ago?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
Because
this
there's
one's-
apparently another.
Yeah, I don't want to really, say, but yeah, they need a lot of help.
Hmm.
But that's a good idea, though, But anyway,
I hadn't expected to be so far along so early in the evening. We've got about
Oh,
20
minutes thereabouts before they start flipping the light switches. They didn't like that joke
I
last
think
week.
they'll be happy that we
But,
finished early.
Yeah. I think there's some hands up online or anybody online want to chime in?
Yes,
Just to be
well,
respectful
first of
of it.
all, Jacqueline Cook, do you want to ask your question?
Maria had a question about it.
Yeah, and then, so.
Yes, I was wondering how many officers the Southeast has on the streets?
Okay, let me give you an idea. When the bid started, I can't even remember the exact day that it started. We were supposed to have around 98. Now, we've lost a lot of officers, so I'll give you an idea. The other day, well, I do what's called a code enforcement day, where I go with code enforcement and a couple of officers that are called PRT officers to go and we do code enforcement and check encampments and stuff like that. They weren't able to do it, and I had to do it that day, and I had to borrow an officer from a squad, and they only had 3 officers to take 70 calls for day shift. So just to give you an idea, I would say they have maybe 5 or 6 a shift. It's really, really bad, and I hate to say it, but it's very low, very low. And we have the most calls, and that's why people all the time, I hear from people all the time, they never answer or they never showed up. It's not that they didn't show up, it's just that they showed up 10 hours or sometimes the next day because there's so many calls. So, and they have to respond to that call, and they have to have remarks and said, this is what happened. And then some people, understandably, a lot of people get mad. I would get mad too, but that's just the nature of it. We need more officers. And it's just, and the calls are too many calls.
I feel like we're not getting, I'm sorry,
And they're priority calls. They're really violent calls.
right.
They're run-of-the-mill type calls. They're shootings, stabbings. We have a lot of shots, like 7900 Val. I dealt with them like 3 years ago for all the shots fired. And I went and talked to the owner of all these properties, and oh yeah, he said it was gonna get, help with it, but obviously it's still happening. So in the Southeast, there's a lot of violent crime, and it ties up officers to where they can't even answer any more calls. So they have to ask for officers in other parts of the city, and most of the city doesn't have them. So it's pretty much citywide, but here it's worse.
What happens when there's a use of force?
Then when there's a use of force, and it's involving 3 officers, those officers are stuck on that call for the rest of the shift. And because of the Department of Justice use of force, they have to stay on that call. And then there's what you call the use of force detectives that come out and investigate it. So they're stuck on that, and they're done. And a sergeant, they're done for the rest of the night. So that makes
So
it.
I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
I know that PSAs are taking care of non-injury accidents and other
Mhm.
lower priority calls.
Yes,
And I
they
know
are.
that people are encouraged to do reports online. So the only statistics we're getting from you at a area command, I believe, is just officers' involvements, that we're not getting the true number. And I would like to know how we get that.
Well, all these calls are actually calls coming in. They're not separated by PSA calls or telephone report calls, because there's also a telephone report unit where you can call in. But what happens is the same dispatcher answers telephone report unit, 911, and 242 cops. So that's why it takes so long. Yeah, the same because they don't have enough dispatchers. The same one answers the same call. So if you're on a 911 call, the reason you will have to wait for 242 cops is because she's busy.
Right.
So, yeah, so but like I said, all the calls, when I get the statistics, they're not separated. You can't separate them, because what we do is when I look it up, it's on what's called Crime View. It just gives the actual calls. It doesn't separate them or anything like that.
Does it capture the?
So you think that 8,900 is the total number of calls?
Yeah. What was, I was,
If
What'd you say?
8,900, the numbers, is that the total amount of calls?
Yes.
between the 22nd, 17th?
yes. Yes.
But not including online reports?
Correct. Yeah, because it's actually a call for service, where they actually get a call and they have to go. And that could include PSAs too. See, and PSAs or police. That's not even the calls that are given to ACS.
Right.
So they're, that I spoke with ACS one day, and they were telling me that they're taking about 1,000 of our calls per month. And that's why they, normally, for the longest time, the last 30 years I've been doing this job, it's actually about 10,000 calls per service, usually.
Do these
So-
numbers reflect online?
No.
Or no?
These are
Which
just
is-
calls
no.
for service.
No,
So
they're all
Jacqueline,
just
I
calls.
think what we're hearing is a suggestion to also get some data around online
Mhm.
reporting also.
Yes.
So,
I don't know, I'm not sure we could do
with,
that.
10 minutes before we would like to sort of close up.
Mhm.
Sandra has had her hand up and Angel noticed that.
Maria too hasn't been addressed.
Yeah, so if we could very quickly, Sandra, is there something that you would like to ask or comment on? I had two things that I covered, but I want to give it to you instead.
Okay, good evening. So actually, because Sandra always has something to say, this is going to go to Jose.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi. So a couple things. I was going to bring this up with the commander. I know he's talking about getting that letter to the CPC like 2 weeks before
Yes.
the meeting. But as much negativity and we know crime and homelessness and everything is out there, I was wondering, as an uplifting type of thing, if maybe he could put in the last paragraph, these are the positive things that APD has done. We've gone to speak to a classroom full of kids, or, you know, we've held some kind of an event for children, or just something positive that you all do, because I know APD does positive things for us, but
Well,
we're
in
all
my report, oh, sorry, Sandra, in my report, I actually have that.
Oh,
but
did
no
you?
one wants to hear that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I did. I did 7 community meetings, 4 in person and 3 on Zoom. I did 3 CPCs, which is the crime prevention through environmental design. And then I do a crime prevention presentation. I have a table at Kirtland Air Force Base. And then we had an ice cream with a cop at Walgreens, 5200 Central. So I put a little bit of a blur in there of what I did. But you're right, we could put more of that. We could definitely.
Yeah, I can tell you that APD actually came to the Peace Center and SWAT actually sat down with our interns who are now certified mediators, and to address questions and concerns that they had as young people, and it was specific to the San Joaquin incident. And they sat and answered very thoughtful questions. And so, you know, not
So,
only.
because I know, like, there's, like, the community is like, well, how come you guys didn't do this, and why didn't you do that? But if we could get some positive of what you do for
Right.
us, because within this community policing, to kind of help balance out, so it's just not all negative.
That's true.
Yeah. I saw, who was it at Emerson Elementary? There was a APD officer playing soccer with the kids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
At that school,
Back to school,
back to
Yeah,
school event,
we
yeah.
posted those pictures
Kelly,
too.
let me in.
And then the other thing, Jose, I know we're all vulnerable when we go out on the street, but I'm just going to speak for my category of being a single woman going out. And as the president of Elder Homestead, I walk the neighborhood frequently. And so the statistics of the CSP and the kidnapping to me have gone up maybe a notch. And so that's concerning for me as a single woman. And I'm wondering if we might be able to get a little bit of clarification from you or the commander about those. Was it against women, men, just a little bit more in depth. I mean, not specific.
Yeah, I would have to look those up, because the way I get these stats, they come from CrimeView, which is called CrimeView, and I just get whatever calls came in. But
Okay.
I don't know. What I could do is go to another website to where I could just pull up those calls for the month and then give more of a clarification.
I know I keep asking you for more and more and more, but,
That's okay, Summer. Hey, I'm
and then
gonna-
Mike, just as a suggestion, weren't you gonna be inviting somebody from the Real Time Crime Center to come and speak?
What's,
The Real-Time Crime
Real-time
Center, yes, I think that would be a marvelous
was she talking to you,
presentation.
Mike?
Yeah.
She was talking to you, right? Oh,
Yes.
okay. 'Cause I
just, it's on my to-do list, that's,
Yeah,
20-some
since you
Yes.
on my business coalition that I have one of them, I'm inviting them too. Well, Don Lewis was who I was gonna invite. Yeah, he's a man. He's a man for the job.
I will add that to the last page on my to-do list.
Okay, because I know,
yeah.
I don't remember where it was mentioned, but because of the break-ins to homes and criminal damage, that homeowners can share their
Video.
footage with the real-time crime, like, and just send it to them right away. And so I think I would like to get more information about how that works from them. And that's it. I'll shut up. Have a good evening. Thank you.
No problem. Have a
No
good
need to-
one.
No need to shut up. This is good.
So,
Yeah, it is.
Communication.
I have a quick question. I hope that we're all sort of peers in this meeting here. For those of you, anybody who is looking at their chat, down in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little smiley face, and then there are 3 dots. And if you hover over it, it says more. If you click on it, it says save chat. Can anybody test that? Somebody like Jacqueline.
Lets anybody save the chat. It puts it into a memo on your desktop.
Yeah, this is another reason that I wanted to go to the webinar, because we want to be accountable to answer your concerns and questions. And if you can't save the chat, the private question that you asked us, it won't show up in a webinar chat file. But if you can save it here in a meeting, then you can go back and say, hey, I asked you this question on August 18th, and it's 3 months later. Are you going to answer it? And then at least you have a record of it. I'm really all about transparency and accountability.
Okay, I tried saving it and there is no option to do that when I press the more button and then do the scroll.
Yeah,
Okay.
mine says emojis.
We might have to
Yeah.
say part of.
That's what mine says.
Whoever
Make
the
it available.
hosts are
Yeah,
usually.
the host has to, yeah, you'll have to do that.
Yeah,
Did it let you? Oh, good. So maybe it's just the
it's,
device too, could make a difference.
Yeah.
we'll have to look at the guidance online
probably
and
not
figure out how
phones.
to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, any quick questions or comments suggestions?
Anybody elaborate? This is Archie. Elaborate on what actually happened with the CASA agreement. What was done away with, or what we're actually with the CASA agreement?
You know, he asked about the new information about the cost agreement. We've met compliance on some new.
Oh, I don't have any information on
Yeah.
that. I wouldn't even want to give the information. 'Cause
He's like,
I'm not
but
qualified for
the
it.
DOJ does have all of that and all of the reports listed on their website for that. So that's where I go when I want to find out what's happening with that.
What is it, the Smart CASA?
No, I literally Googled DOJ Albuquerque CASA agreement, and DOJ's website came up, and it has all of the reports, and it has everything, compliance levels, all of that there. So you can actually read the report from the DOJ about what new compliance measures we've met.
And Archie, I don't remember if it was the meeting that you weren't able to join us on, but I do have the presentation 2 months ago on the CASA results, the IMT, and I'll send you a link to that on YouTube.
I appreciate it, Mike.
What's the follow-up on the gateway situation we have?
I don't know.
Gateway situation?
They're supposed to bring the homeless.
Oh, yes, I just met with them. We can maybe have someone come. Christina Patajon is the gateway administrator that I work with most closely about. And I know that they're wanting to open, I believe in January was the last
We can-
update that I got.
We had a presentation, was it January?
Yeah, January or February.
So we can ask for her to come back and make a presentation.
Yeah, they've done a lot. I know OEI was involved in helping do some spiritual cleansing of the space because the security guards were talking about some ghosts that were around. Like, when I worked there for.
Or if you can get it to me, Mike, I can get it to Mr. Mike Cross. I recognize him. How's it going, Mike?
All right, how about you?
All right. Thanks for attending.
Yeah, so that we've done a lot of cool stuff.
There's another candidate for our CPC.
Hey.
Field trip.
As long as you get those roosters and eggs.
A field trip to walk through there and see what they're, what they're doing. It's pretty interesting.
Okay, so it's coming up on 5 minutes still. We need to break down the equipment. Kelly needs to include the recording. If you go online to the city website, you get my email address, which is a forwarding address, so it doesn't jeopardize everything in the world on my email. So you can find it on the city website. And if you have questions or comments or recommendations, whatever, please email me and I'll try to get those out to the other CPC members as quickly as possible. So with that, we conclude.
Thank you, everybody, for coming online.
Good seeing you, Nicole.
Too, Archie.